Greetings, YouTube. So I saw yesterday online that Glamour magazine has a video up at the moment dealing with domestic abuse and encouraging women to speak out about it, both for their own safety and for the women of the world to realize that they're not alone. Now, I have a personal connection to domestic abuse. I am a survivor. I was raised by an alcoholic, psychotic drunk, my father, and both my mother and myself suffered at his hands because of this. So I have, unfortunately, some experience in this field, and there are two main lessons I learned from this process. The first was how to take a hit and not react, because if you reacted, you got hit a second time. So I learned that if someone hits me, don't respond. Oddly, this came into play when I was in school when a classmate punched me in the face. And I did nothing. I just stood there and I bled. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I didn't hit him back. I just stood there. It unnerved him to no end. He ran away. It was a strange kind of a Pyrrhic victory, I guess. But the second thing I learned is how to lie. I'm really good at lying. I was raised in it. Because an alcoholic learns really early to lie about everything. Mostly, they lie to themselves. But when you're raised in that environment, you learn to lie about your father's drinking. You learn to lie about the abuse. And that's the insidious nature of domestic abuse. It functions best in silence, in the dark, in the hidden recesses of our social structures. It doesn't function well out in the open. If you saw somebody beating a child in the street, you'd probably stop them. If nothing else, there would be a crowd of witnesses to verify that, yeah, this guy just hit a kid. You'd probably do the same if it was a woman or even if it was a man. Because we don't put up for that kind of thing all that readily. We frequently jump in. I know that, given those circumstances, I would jump in. But it's important for the people who are living in those kinds of relationships, for them to understand that the lies, that the silence perpetuates the situation that they are in. And that if they break that silence, things will eventually get better. And for those of people in the world who aren't in a domestic violent relationship, if you suspect that a child is being injured, contact the authorities. If you suspect that a fellow adult is being injured, talk to them. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know that there's a sympathetic ear out here in the world outside that twisted relationship that they're in. Because when you're in that kind of relationship, the universe narrows. It's hard to see that there's anything outside that relationship. Your world is very limited. It came as quite a shock to me as an adult when I discovered that there had been adults in my life when I was a child that had been aware that my mother and I had suffered at the hands of my father, and they had done nothing. I lost a little bit of respect for these people when I discovered this. I think that they failed in their capacity as a fellow human being. As a child, I didn't have a lot of options, and they didn't do what they could. But if you're an adult and you find yourself in a domestic violent relationship, get out. Find a way to leave, because it's not going to get better until you do. I'm not saying the person that can't be redeemed. I'm a big believer in redemption. My father has redeemed himself, but he had to get sober to do it. But if you remain there, it isn't ever going to get better, because there's no reason for it to get better. You're telling your partner who's abusing you that you're okay with the relationship. And if you're in a new relationship and your partner, I don't care what sex, gender, or orientation you are, if your new partner hits you, 30 seconds later I want you on the street, walking away to the police. If you can't go to the police, just keep walking. If you don't have to go back, don't go back. And if you do have to go back, go with friends, at least 2 of them. Not to be violent, but to make sure everyone is safe. Get your things and walk away, and don't ever look back. Yes, this is going to be hard. Do it anyway. You don't want to be looking at the situation 5 years down the line as the survivor of a domestic relationship like this, domestically violent relationship. Be far better to have that one unpleasant incident than years of abuse. But we as a society have to make sure that we don't let people stay in silence. We speak for the ones who can't speak, and we encourage the people who are currently in silence to break it and step forward. If we do this, we can help make the world a better place.